Hi, I'm Michelle Bray Wilson with Studio Shell here in Chicago. Today I'm retooling my home deck studio to make these non-medical grade surgical masks that are showing up all over. Our variation on this theme is a design that you will be able to kick out a mask in under 4 minutes so you can make loads and loads of these to help out your neighborhood hospital, nursing home, wherever these babies are needed. These are the supplies that I'm using at my cutting station. I have my Olfa pinking cutter. I have a Fiskars rotary cutting wheel cutter, a scissor because you may need a scissor for some reason, and this might come in handy if you want to take extra steps. It's a pen that will wash away the ink when you wash it. My sewing machine is set up with a general purpose presser foot. I have a scissor handy because you always need a scissor, and that's about it over at the sewing station. I've got my ironing board station, self-explanatory. And now let's talk about materials. I have quilting fabric that comes 45 inches width, and I have this Bernat blanket yarn. I'm using this because it has a little bit of stretch to it. Not a lot, but a little bit. What I'm not using in this design is elastic because you cannot really find it. If you do have a source of elastic, you want thinner stuff than this. Okay, let's prepare our ties. We have our yarn here, and I'm going to use a very precise method to measure this. Here we go. So I'm just going to wrap it and wind it around my arm. And we're going to make the ties really long to start. We'll be able to cut them later. And the yarn is cheap relative to the material. All right, let's say that's enough. Take it off my arm. And I'm just going to cut once. So these will be pretty long. And you'll see how that works. Ties. This is fabric that was quilting fabric. It comes 45 inches wide. It's already been folded in half, and you're going to take a long length of it, however much yardage you have, fold it in half like you see here, and then in half again. So we're folded into quarters, and then lay the fabric down onto your cutting surface, and we will get ready. I've put some tape marks on my mat so I don't have to spend a lot of time knowing where the 12-inch point is. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a 12-inch length off of my quadrupled folded fabric, and here we go. Okay, so we have cut two 12-inch sections, and now we're going to open each one, and we're going to fold it up the middle. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for the second one. Now you could cut all kinds of these, and you want to do a lot at once, but get familiar with it at first and start out doing 8 masks thereabouts would be good. Now what we want to do with this is cut it in half and cut it in half again to make 4. And my fabric was folded pretty tightly before and stored for a long time, so I can see where the halfway point is. So I'm laying 2 on top of each other, 2 lengths, and I'm cutting through there. And now I want to cut in half again. An easy way to do this is I need to find the halfway point, fold it. There's my ruler marking the halfway. Cut. All right, there's some masks, 4 masks, and we're going to do that little trick again with these. Line them up. Put the ruler in the middle, double it, use the ruler. I've got to cut on the right side of it now because how I was holding that. Pay attention. I'm a lefty, if you haven't got that by now. All right, Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 here. So we've got 8 material ready to go for 8 masks. We're ready to start sewing. It's folded in half as it was cut. And we're going to take a tie, and it's very long. Just to get some of that out of the way, I'm going to wind it twice, put it on the inside so that when we open this mask up, it will be on the outside. Put a little bitty tail out at the bottom and at the top so you can know where you're at with this baby. Then what we're going to do is, starting with a long unsewn edge, we are going to put it into the machine, and you need to know where to look on your own machine to get a dimension that's about that wide. Okay, I'm going to use this bend in my plate to do that. Put the presser foot down, and we're going to sew to the end. Now we're going over the tie, so I want that very secure, so I'm going to go over it a couple of times. Now I'm going to make the turn, and then again I'm going to go forward and back over that tie to ensure that it is really, really secure in there, because we don't want anybody losing their PPE.
That's their personal protective equipment.
Thank you, Hodar. That's my Hodar who's doing the filming. His name is Alan. Okay, back it up and then go forward again. And that is so that we can cut that thread and we don't have any trimming to do on that end. Now we're going to turn the whole piece over so that we can perform exactly the same steps on the other side to sew an L. I'm going to take a tie. I'm going to wind up part of it to get it out of the way. I'm going to place it inside with a little bit extending out from the top and the bottom so that I know I have it completely captured. Okay, get it right at the bottom and right at the top. Okay, that looks good. Again, I'm going to this edge on my plate. Make sure everything is lined up. This looks a little bit crooked. All right, now that looks good. And then all we do is sew. Let me get that thread where it belongs to start. Very good. All right. And as you can see, no marking. Go over that piece of that tie. We're going to back it up, come forward, make the turn. And again, I'm going to back it up. So I've gone over that tie now 6 or 7 times. Run it down to the end, go right over the tie. Back it up, over, and clip. A couple of threads to clip here, and then we're going to turn it inside out through this opening. Reach in there, and you can actually even use the ties to pull it out, but that'll go very quickly here. Okay, so you can tug on your ties. That way you're going to know the ties are secure, and I'll also pull out the corners quickly for you. So now the last thing we need to do here is to finish the front by sewing up the little opening in the middle. You can finger fold that into position. And what I do now is I sew along this entire edge because it just looks a little bit neater to have the entire the stitch go across the entirety of it, and it doesn't cost much in time and thread. So let's sew that all the way down. And clip. Okay, all that is left now is to do the pleats. Okay, so to do the pleats, what we're going to do is we're going to first fold it in half, and then we're going to put the fold that we just made in the middle here towards the stitching. Put it down, and we're going to sew about 1/2 inch, and then we're going to back it up so it's double. And I'm just doing by guess or by golly here. You can see the precision I've applied throughout. And one is done. And I always go forward and back so I can get rid of the tails in real time. Flip it over this way, and you can do exactly the same step on the other side. And again, we're going to go forward 1/2 inch or so, and then back. Clip the thread. We've made the pleat 1 of 3. Now what we need to do is make the top and bottom pleats, and to do that we're going to open it up and we're going to fold into the pleat that we just made before. We're going to kind of fold to the center, and all the ties should end up in the center when we do this, and there they are. And now we're going to put the 2 pleats into place. Same thing. Don't sew so far that you sew the ties. That's the only thing you want to be careful of here. And again, I'm going to go forward and then back so that I can get rid of all the cutting. In this case, I'm just going to turn it over this way. Forward a little bit, back. Cut the ties. It's 2 more pleats. We are not going to stop to admire them. We're going to turn it right over and do the other side. And then we'll go to the ironing board. In 1 second, I'm going to do these pleats for you here. Forward, back, cut, flip. Actually, we have one more sewing step. Forward, back, clip. Okay, all right, now what you can do is open it up, and you'll see the pleats are there, but it doesn't look really wonderful. What you want to do now is take the right edge, and we're going to sew all the pleats down in the same direction. And then once we sew it, and they are a little uneven on this mask, I don't know, this pleat probably isn't as deep as it should be. I'm going to get it there right there by finger folding a little bit deeper. And so let's sew it all down now. And then we'll see what it looks like when we iron. Let's go right across there, top to bottom. Always go to the end so that I can avoid having a bunch of little threads to clip when I'm all done. Because I have this little cutter here. It's one of the things I really like about that machine. Now, the trick is to make sure you do the same thing on the other side. So here I am, this is the one time I'm going to put material on the right side of the needle. We're going to go in there, and then we're going to press all these pleats down, going in the same direction as they were on the other side. And then this will complete the sewing, come on, a little stuck there, of one mask. I guess you're supposed to back up right at the end to secure the stitch. Okay, again, clip. And now we can do any cleanup, and then we'll go over to the ironing board. I've taken the mask, and I'm going to iron that first pleat since I have access to it. And now I'm going to just open it and pull it straight across, and the pleats should just sort of come right into place. And then I will just iron. Doesn't that look nice? Okay. And you see all that time with marking the pattern and pinning and what it did for us, right? We didn't really have to do any of that. Okay? So we're all done with one mask except for the very last thing, which is to cut the ties at the end. And they are pretty long, but that's okay, because this way they can tie either behind their ear or behind their head. I'm going to show tying behind the head here. So I'm going to put that on, and just as you would, tie a bow tie. Now if they had the loops, that's a little bit quicker to put on, but that really requires elastic. And if you have access to the elastic, it should be, you put it in the same way, and you just have to learn how much to cut. Here's the bottom one I'm tying now in a bow tie, and I'm now good to go. Thank you for watching Shea Shell. If you have suggestions for improvements to this, I would be delighted to hear from them, and hope to see you around the bend.